So what is this really worth to you? Let's have some numbers here. Let's have a head count. How many blue-eyed, blonde-haired boys from Iowa? How many black-haired, green-eyed boys from the Bronx? How many surfer boys from California? How many good old boys from Georgia? How many crackers from Florida? How many Italians from Chicago? How many? Oh, I know. Listen to all the talk about, the drugs. The drugs. Noriega's a big drug pusher. How about the president of Mexico? Isn't it strange that everybody you seem to have a political problem with is suddenly a drug pusher? How about France, Hey, the French connection? Well, you want to go over and kick some butt in France, huh? Nah, you want to kick some butt where you think nobody can kick back, you stupid fools. Unbelievable. Half of you would have a damn difficult time pointing Panama out on a map. Most of you would probably miss the continent that it's on. Hell, 2/3 of you probably can't even spell it. But you want to go kick some butt. You want to take over something. How many people live there? Do you have any idea? Any idea at all? About 2.2 million, thank you. Got a damn big army, too. Well-trained one. And they can shut down your canal, bam, like that. What do you use the canal for? Do you know how big it is? You know what it's used primarily for? Bring Japanese cars to Jacksonville. Do you know anything about the history of the canal? Do you know anything about the history of Panama? Well, I'll very briefly fill you in on the history of Panama. It used to be part of Colombia until America bullied its way and created the great country of Panama, and then stole from the great country of Panama the little strip of land that runs east and west that the canal is made out of. But that's okay, because almost every country on the face of the earth was stolen from somebody else. We stole ours from the Indians, and the Russians stole theirs from the Tsar, and the English stole theirs from the Romans, and on and on and on and on it goes. So it's not really relevant that X number of years ago, the country of Panama was stolen from the country of Colombia. By the way, if you want to kick butt, what's wrong with Colombia, or Bolivia, or Peru? Why don't you go in and take over there, too? Why don't you just take over the whole damned world and then talk about the commies and the Russians and their expansionist ways? Yeah. You guys couldn't take over Panama if your lives depended on it. You're a bunch of beer-swizzling yahoos who, again, have no idea what in the hell the world is all about, who have no idea what the problems are in the world. Hell, you're the guys that they sold 4 battleships to. 4 battleships that don't scare anybody, except the young kids that have to work in the gun turrets. They're scared. 4 battleships that serve utterly no purpose whatsoever, except for beer-swizzling yahoos to sit there and say, yep, there's a battleship. It's 108 feet wide. Strikes terror into your heart, doesn't it? Well, I guess it does if you're out there in a rowboat with a pea shooter. Just about anything else could take them out. So how many kids? Come on, I want some numbers. How many kids is Panama and the Panama Canal worth to you? Your great senators here in Florida, the ones who pandered to the hysterical anti-communists in South Florida. Your president, who's thinking about his options. Oh, they're all in favor of it. So how many kids? Give me a number. How many kids is Noriega worth to you? Isn't it strange the one they indicted Noriega, they didn't indict the entire Mexico? You want to talk about vote fraud? Talk about Mexico. Talk about Chicago. I don't remember you wanting to go in and kick some butt and take over in Chicago. Or Mexico. Or a lot of other places where elections aren't exactly on the up and up. I don't quite remember you wanting to, for example, march on Tallahassee or Miami. Remember Miami, where there was a guy named Maurice Ferré who used to be mayor down there for a long, long time. And Maurice was talking about what a great economic boom the drug trade was for the state of Florida. And it is, too. But I don't remember you wanting to march on Miami. So I'll just sit here and wait for you to call me up and tell me how many kids. What's it really worth to you? And tell me why it's worth it to you. How many kids do you want sent home in little boxes with beautiful American flags draped over them? Coming into Andrews Air Force Base. And maybe they'll even bring Ronnie back from California to stand there and weep over them. And touch hands and hug the dearly departed's family. Oh, they make such great television pictures, don't they? Hey, what the hell do you care? Ain't your kids. Oh, some bozo just called. I could actually hear it through the glass. Some bozo just called up Michael and set off one of those things that are supposed to go on your dashboard, that make the sounds like da-da-da-da-da-da-da, so you can pretend you're machine gunning the car in front of you. The mentality, that's the whole damn mentality of this country. Let's pretend we're machine gunning somebody. Hey, Panama's a real country with 2.2 million people. Most of them damn decent people. And it's just really too bad that we set up some jerk down there named Manuel Noriega who turned out to be somebody that didn't want to leave office when we were through with him. How the hell do you think he got the power? Think it was Gorbachev and the evil empire that put him there? Or maybe Noriega. I meant to say Ortega. What difference? Some Ega, huh? No. Well, us. We put him there. And now we're pissed that he won't go away. And because we put him there, he won't go away. You are willing to kill our kids and the Panamanians' kids. For nothing. You people who couldn't win in Vietnam, who couldn't win in Korea, who couldn't win in Iran, who couldn't win in Nicaragua, who couldn't win in Cuba, who can't seem to win any place except Grenada, or is that Grenada? Hey, give me a break, huh? I'll give you the telephone numbers. You can come up with your head counts for me. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. That's 990-WFLA. In the other place, that's Pinellas, home of patriotism, that's for sure. Hey, let's voice some of our kids. That shows how patriotic we are. 461-9352. 461-WFLA. They are the numbers. Now let's hear from you with your numbers. News Radio Nights is to go liberate Panama. Or maybe they're down there waiting for somebody else to show up. St. Petersburg, St. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Afternoon.
Just let those old men go that want to go, but zero of our young boys mandatorily. Hey, Lassiter, I just mostly want to tell you, I believe it's Grenada, because I think it's a Spanish word, which would be Grenada. And I've always thought Vietnam is not Vietnam. That's about all. You have a very good show. Keep it up.
By the way, it's Grenada. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Off it is now to Tampa. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, you want to hear from a young guy? You got a young guy in Tampa. Yeah, what are you doing? Get out of this country.
Oh, get out of this country.
You don't belong in this country.
Yeah.
Who the hell do you think you are talking like that?
Sir, I know who I am. Who the hell do you think you are?
Who the hell do I know who I am?
Oh, really? Who are you?
I am an individual who cares about this country. An individual who
cares about this country.
That's right. I don't talk disrespectful about the president, regardless of whether you like him or don't like him. He's your president, God damn it.
I didn't bring up the president's name, did I?
Oh, you were talking about Ronald Reagan when he was in the office now, weren't you?
No, I wasn't.
Are you so old and senile you don't even remember saying that?
No, actually what I said was maybe we could bring him back in California.
With those people that you talk about, You don't talk disrespectful about the president. You've done it before. You've done it in the past. You'll do it in the future.
How many kids do you want to die?
Huh? How many kids do I want to die? None.
You're too stupid to listen, aren't you?
What, are you too stupid to understand what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Huh? How many kids? Of course I don't want any kids to die. But damn it, what's the military there for?
Yeah.
And we got to stand up for our rights. Right. And I'm tired of this crap and people like you.
Your rights in some other country.
I'm talking. Why don't you let me talk? You don't even let people talk when you call in.
Hey, well, if a person called, I'd let him talk. You're not a person.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, you're finished.
You're
finished.
Oh, I'm finished.
Yeah, you're finished.
Yeah, I'm finished.
You're finished.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Because it's all over.
Another blowhard.
It's all over.
Yeah, right after you take care of Noriega, you're going to take care of me, huh?
Noriega will get his due.
Yeah.
He'll get what's coming to him.
Right, yeah, sure.
That's right.
As long as there are blowhards like you around.
That people make mistakes.
Yeah,
Have you never made a mistake in your life?
Not like Noriega, no.
No, I'm not talking about with Noriega.
What
I'm
are
not
you
talking about with Noriega. You've made mistakes.
You have any idea what you're talking about at all? Who helped you dial the phone?
Huh?
I wonder who helped him hang it up. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lassiter.
Good afternoon.
That's a tough act to follow, kind of like following Topo Gigio. But there's a couple of points I really want to get straight on. Number one is I just got out of the military recently, Air Force, and I wouldn't have a problem going down there, but the problem is I happen to know from...
Well, wait a second. What do you mean you wouldn't have a problem? What are you going to get down there for?
Well, for a good reason.
What did Panama ever do to you?
Well, I'm not saying I'm ready to go now. I'm saying for a good reason I'm ready to go. But, like in Vietnam, I can tell you from many friends that I work with that went in the field with just X amount of bullets in their gun, and they weren't allowed to have more.
Sir, the reason they couldn't win in Vietnam had nothing to do with how many bullets they had or a democratic liberal Congress. It was very simple. They didn't know what the hell they were doing there. But
right,
the
exactly.
Vietnamese
That's
knew what they
why
were
I'm not
doing
in favor of charging into Panama right now, is because the Congress would never let us fight a real war.
Again, it just went right over your head, sir. They didn't know what the hell they were there for. The Vietnamese never did anything to them. These were just a bunch of young kids who had been foolishly told that they were somehow defending democracy in a country where democracy had never existed.
Okay, I'm saying let's not charge right into Panama.
The Vietnamese were there trying to expel foreign invaders. They've been doing it for 1,500 years.
Okay, exactly. Now we've got this guy, sure, we put him there in power, but he turned around and bit the hand that fed him.
The hell he did? What do you mean he turned around and bit the hand that fed him? How did he bite his hand?
Did we not put him there?
You bet your sweet ass we did. Well, how did he bite your hand? What did he do to you?
He's cut America off. He's no longer our friend.
Well, he's cut America off, sir. I beg your pardon. It was Ronald Reagan who cut off Panama.
What? He's cut off relations to the country.
No, sir. It was Ronald Reagan that did that.
I don't see how that happened. If he would not recognize the elected president of the company, the country, and now you're saying it's Ronald Reagan's fault because the vice president stood up and took control.
No, sir. That's not at all what I said. I said it was Ronald Reagan who cut off the Panamanians. That's what I said.
Well, okay. Now, I don't really want to argue that point. What my biggest question is, what can we do about it?
On top of that, is my memory serves me, it was the president of Panama who said to Noriega, "Get out." Noriega said,
Exactly.
But I don't recall Noriega forcing the president of Panama out. He said, "Oh, well, let me out of here. Whoa, feet don't fail me now." And he left. He's sitting in Miami in a big house now. Wonder who's paying for that.
Isn't he still in Panama?
Hell no, he got out within a week. Maybe two.
He was in hiding in Panama for a few weeks after he was deposed.
he was in hiding, period. We don't know where the hell he was, but he's in Miami right now, sir.
Okay, but please, Mr. Lassiter, I respect your intelligence. Tell me, what can we do? I don't want to go in there guns blazing. I want to do something about it.
Well, wait a second. Why do we have to do anything? I mean,
because we are supposed to give them back their canal, and we can't do that.
Why not? It's theirs. What do you think they're going to do with it? You think they're going to stop American shipping from going through it?
Well,
it's one of their main sources of income. Nobody else uses it for all practical purposes but us.
Who knows if that's what they'll do? Who knows if they'll just say, okay, fine, you can have your ships go through here.
And on top of that, so if that's what happens, then a lot of Panamanian or Liberian registered cruise ships will not be able to go through, and a lot of Japanese boats full of cars will not be able to come to Jacksonville.
Hey, that's fine with me. I'd buy American as it is.
Hey, it's fine with me, too. I'm sorry, and those battleships that we ferry back and forth, well, they'll have to go around the South American Cape there.
Okay, but do we continue to let the Panamanian people have a ruler who will not let free elections happen in his country?
Well, are you concerned with Mexico? Are you concerned with the Soviet Union?
Are you
concerned with Poland? Are you concerned with Czechoslovakia? Are you concerned with, so many other countries I could rattle off? China? Why only Panama?
Panama
I mean,
is in our
let's
hemisphere.
go with priorities here. Panama's no threat to us. So let's go with priorities. If we want to liberate all of these people, if we want to get rid of all of these despicable despots, all of these terrible dictators, let's start in China.
Let's start in Colombia.
No, hell, that's a low priority, too. Let's start in the Soviet Union.
The Soviet Union doesn't have to attack us. They can just sit back.
Wait a second, sir. The Soviet Union is the source of all evil in the world, right?
No, sir. Soviet Union can rest on their behinds because Colombia is slowly letting America take care of itself.
No, Colombia is, let's be honest with each other. There is not a Colombian in this country, not one, who is holding a gun to an American's head and making him take dope.
No, sir.
There never has been one.
Right, but just like they said...
Let's stop picking on Colombia and let's go after the bad boys in the world, the real bad boys. Well, how about Fidel Castro? I'm always told that dope passes through Cuba.
No problem.
Let's get on there. Bam! Boom!
I don't know of any drugs passing through Cuba. Even if that's true, well, fine. But I'm talking about cutting off the source.
Wait a second. Your government tells you that they pass through all the time. Government tells you it's no question about it. You don't believe your government's lying to you now, do you?
My government's lied to me plenty of times, yes.
Well, maybe your government's lying to you about Noriega, too. I don't think they are. I don't think they are.
I don't think they are either.
But you're the one who said you didn't trust your government. But I just thought I'd bring that up.
Well, we got to pick and choose when we can trust what they're telling us, and we got to pick and choose what scourge we're going to get out of our hair first.
You're very concerned about losing this canal.
To tell you the truth, I'm not as concerned about losing the canal as I am getting the drug traffic stopped.
Getting the drug traffic. Well, then how about if we go and bomb France?
I don't know if France contributing to the drug problem in the country.
The French connection, remember?
I know. I've heard a lot more about the Cuban connection and the Colombian connection.
It is generally conceded that much, if not most, of the heroin that comes into this country is first manufactured in France. So let's go blow up France. A lot of it comes from Italy too. So let's go, the mafia. So let's go blow up Italy.
But stopping the drug trade should not be a result of military action. It should be a result of police action.
What do you mean by that, police action?
Well, the DEA
you want them to wear
is
blue
in place.
uniforms instead of jungle fatigues?
Well, we can't go indiscriminately bombing places and countries. We need to go after the sources of the drug trade. And in fact, I don't think anything should happen to the poor farmer in Colombia who's trying to plant cocaine, coca leaves, because what else can he grow? They're telling him, you will plant coca leaves. It's not his problem. I don't have anything against that guy.
Well, do you suppose it's possible that somebody bigger is telling Noriega that you will traffic in drugs?
Oh, sure. I'll buy that.
So who might that be?
He's just a happy, fat middleman.
Who might that be? Might that be the CIA?
Entirely possible. Let's find out.
Then let's bomb Langley, Virginia, or wherever the hell they're located.
Let's find out. Let's clean house.
Clean house, okay.
Wherever it is, even if it's in our own backyard, which isn't too far from conceivable.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas Park. Hi, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Afternoon, Bob.
Afternoon.
I don't think heroin has anything to do with any of the scope of things. Do you? How many heroin arrests have been made in Pinellas County and Hillsborough County in the past year?
I really wouldn't have any idea, but...
Not very many. Very, very few, I assure you, as opposed to cocaine, which seems to be Mr. Noriega's main stock and staple.
Oh, so I see you were only interested in cocaine.
Not me, but...
Unbelievable, all these punks that just dropped off. I just thought I'd mention that. All these Despicable little punks that don't want to come up with a number.
Heroin is passe. Nobody does heroin. I'm not saying nobody. I mean, but the people that are into drugs and illegal substances, heroin is, you know, is insignificant.
You're into drugs?
No, I'm not.
You travel a lot in the drug community, then?
I have been around quite a few people that do drugs, and heroin is passe.
Recently?
Sir?
You hang around a lot of people who do drugs?
I'm a human being, Bob. I know people that have done drugs, and they have...
Are you a good citizen, sir?
Yes, I'm a taxpayer. I'm a hard-working man, sure.
So, therefore, you turned into these people that you had knowledge of.
Let's see how we can misconstrue this before you cut me off.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just trying to determine, sir, that you're not a good citizen.
I'm quite a good citizen.
I'm
quite a good citizen, Mr. Lassiter.
Well, did you turn on these people doing illegal drugs?
No, Bob.
So you had knowledge of people doing crimes that you would tell me are very serious crimes, but you didn't bother to turn them in.
Let me ask you a question, Bob. Have you ever done 56 miles an hour on a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit? Did you go down to the police station and turn yourself in?
Would you have me believe that?
Would you have me believe that you would not turn your own self in?
Shut up. You asked me a question. Now I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Or else we will deal without you. Would you have me believe that doing 56 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone is on the same level as cocaine?
It's a crime that's being committed?
No, it's not a crime. It's not a crime at all. No, I beg your pardon, it isn't.
Of course it is.
No, I beg your pardon,
Going over the speed limit is not a crime?
No, it is not. It is not a criminal activity. It is a violation of an ordinance.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Next.
I don't see your relevance thing. You saying that something that doesn't really even matter.
Did you really have anything whatsoever to add to this conversation?
Well, you seem to be so hung up on heroin, people using heroin and stuff like that, and Manuel Noriega. I say take him out. He's contributing nothing positive. Mm-hmm. What is Manuel Noriega contributing? Nothing. He's taking no way.
Well, what the hell are you contributing? I guess we should bomb you, too.
I'm not saying bomb him.
Since you don't even know the difference between a crime and an ordinance, you know, a criminal activity and a violation of an ordinance.
Well, I guess, you know...
You're a rather pathetic person.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. I really appreciate that commentary.
Drug dealers.
Hmm?
You heard me.
Drug dealers?
Yeah.
How many drug dealers do you know?
I don't know any. You're the one that said you knew them.
I didn't say I know. I said I've seen them.
Hanging around them. You're the one that told me that heroin's passe.
It is.
Really funny. I read in Time magazine's coming back like gangbusters.
Well.
But I guess not in your drug culture.
How many people do you know that work down in Time magazine?
I don't know anybody, but I read it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I guess you believe everything that you're reading here.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's why I should believe everything you say.
Well, I would certainly think the Time magazine is a far more credible source of information than you.
Well, I think it's far more credible source of...
Credible.
Source of... Well, it's kind of hard for me to talk, Bob. You know, if you could excuse me and let me get one damn word out.
Did you lose all your teeth while you were doing the cocaine?
Sir?
Did you lose all your teeth while you were doing the cocaine, or while you were doing the
actually, I was a victim of quite a violent assault by somebody that was on drugs and smashed the side of my head in, so they wired my face together. So it's kind of hard for me to compete with you because your jaws move so fast.
No, that has nothing whatsoever to do. It has nothing whatsoever to do with whatever tragedy may have befallen you in your life. You just don't have your act together, fella.
Well, I can't speak quite as fast as you and quite as eloquently as you, and I use the word very liberally.
But you've been on the air now for something like 6 or 7 minutes, and the best you have done is to tell me that heroin is not the in drug.
No, it's not. I can tell you flat out it's not, and I guarantee you go down, and
I don't believe I ever said it was.
You're the one that said, oh, heroin's all this, that, and cocaine is much more prevalent in the society than heroin is. All you got to do is go down and look at the damn records. It will show you.
Well, how do you know that Manuel Noriega is involved in the cocaine trade?
I think it's fairly obvious, Bob.
Well, how do you know? Did you read it someplace? Believe everything you read? St. Petersburg, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Bob.
Yeah.
This is a typical, this interest with Panama is a typical thing of starting a fire somewhere because you can't put out the fire at home.
It well may be. Yeah,
I want these Sunshine Patriots, okay, that are going to get down to Panama and throw out, 20,000-man army? I want them to go to D.C. and Miami and straighten out the drug dealers down here.
Well, let's see, 20,000-man army. If we use the Grenada, or is that Grenada? If we use the Grenada ratio, we will need
construction workers.
We will need, let's see, we'll need 200,000 troops.
Something like that.
And it should take, if they got 20,000 men, took us almost 2 weeks for 700. Should take something in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 months.
That's right, but we could always, just nuke the canal.
And on top of that, let's see, we will end up losing, a couple thousand of our own boys that we'll shoot ourselves. plus whatever the Panamanians can shoot.
Yeah, well, if the Lion of Grenada would come back, Ronald Reagan, and straighten the world out, after he gets through testifying at Poindexter's trial, maybe we could get something done.
Is that about it?
That's about it.
Okay, thank you ever so much. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. We have still yet to have one person, not one person, give us a figure as to precisely how many red-blooded U.S. of A. boys this whole Panamanian thing is worth. I mean, I can hardly believe it. I heard almost 2.5 hours nonstop, or at least what appeared to me to be nonstop, of blowhard after blowhard saying, yeah, I think we should go in and take it over, Well, come on, go in and take it over, crowd. How many boys do you want to spend to take it over? Largo, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, there's a solution for all this mess down there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, send big fat pigs like you.
Oh, isn't that clever?
Big, huge fat pigs.
You'll go down there. Yeah.
You'll go down there and you'll eat up all the food, and then Noriega will starve to death.
Oh, isn't that clever?
Like
who helped you think of that one?
You understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't understand what you're saying, because you don't even understand what the hell you're saying.
Yeah, send
you're
a big fat pig like you.
Subhuman person who has no idea as to what's going on in the world, who sits home glued to his talk radio set and occasionally calls in and tries to insult Lassiter. Oh, Michael, he called me a big fat pig. Michael, I'm going to have to leave the studio. I'm so ashamed.
Like I said.
Get off my phone, you jerk. Unbelievable. Off it is now to Brandon. Brandon, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Yes, I'll tell you how many American men it's going to take.
Great, how many?
It's going to take as many as it takes until our
as many as it takes, Michael. Write that one down. Well, how many are you personally willing to lose?
How many am I personally willing to lose? Whatever it takes. You cannot put a number on it.
Well,
if
sure
it
you
takes
can.
10, if it takes 1.
Sure you can put a number on it, because most people at some point say, God almighty, we've wasted 50, 60,000 lives. This is enough. It's not worth it. So at what point do you say it's not worth it?
You go in there and you finish your objective, whatever it takes.
1,000 red-blooded boys?
Excuse me?
Try to read my lips. 1,000 red-blooded boys?
If that's what it takes, you got to go in there and do what it takes. We got to.
How about 100,000 red-blooded boys?
I think you're being very You live in some kind of fantasy world.
I live in a fantasy world. I see. You're the one that whatever it takes.
You go in there, you set your objective.
Well, okay. Well, now let me ask you another question. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because we made the initial mistake by getting him in there. We have got to get him out.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
For the security of our country.
For the security of our country?
Yeah, and I'm talking mostly internally from the drugs and the mayhem that he has...
Manuel Noriega is making Americans take drugs?
He is the main source of the drugs coming into this country.
Oh, now all of a sudden he's the main source of the drugs coming into this country. Unbelievable.
No, not all of a sudden. Not all of a sudden.
Oh.
Not all of a sudden. It's gotten out of hand.
It's gotten out of hand. Well, the guy's only worth $400 or $500 million. You'd think if he was the main source of all the drugs coming into this country, he'd be worth $400 or $500 billion. But hey,
you're not talking.
Make it up as you go along.
Excuse me?
What do you mean I'm not talking realistic? What have I said that's not realistic?
Everything. You live in a fantasy world.
Everything. Well, give me an example of one of those things.
You live in a fantasy world.
Give me an example of one of those. Give me an example of my fantasy world.
An example of your fantasy world?
I believe that's what it was.
100. Come on.
Well, I just asked you if that's how many you'd be willing to lose.
Come on.
I didn't say that's how many it would take.
You're being unrealistic.
Oh, I'm being unrealistic.
You're not being rational.
I'm not being rational. Mikey says I'm not being rational.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
And in order to discuss this, you must be rational. You're not being rational about it. You're trying to,
You're the guy that tells me that Manuel Noriega is the source of all the drugs coming into this country, and I'm living in a fantasy world?
I said he's the main source.
The main source? Well, what percentage?
He's one of the main.
What percentage?
I don't have the exact number. Too many. Too many, damn it.
Give me an educated guess.
Oh, God, I'd say 50% at least.
50%. Now, where'd you come up with that number? Where did you ever hear a number like that?
I picked it out of the air.
I know you did.
Forever, I've been after Harry
We spent 3 hours yesterday talking about something that is very, very, very basic, a house. Now, finding a house, as we talked about yesterday, can be a little bit difficult, and then getting the financing on a house can be even more difficult. Well, I can't promise miracles, but I can tell you that I can deliver you to an organization that will do everything in their power to see to it that you get financing for that house of your dreams. We're talking about Town & Country Mortgage and Investment Corporation. They're located at 14502 Northdale Mabry Highway. They are licensed mortgage brokers. You see, a mortgage broker doesn't give... Hi.
Well, you've gotten a few Rambos out of the woodwork here. I think that one person dying in any sort of an invasion to Panama would be more than enough.
Well, what if Panama deserved an invasion?
It beats the hell out of me. I wish some of these people would explain.
I said, what if Panama deserved an invasion?
What if they deserve it?
I believe that's what I said, yeah.
I'm sorry, you're not coming in very loud. I don't know that they deserve it.
Well, I said, what if they did? Then how many are you going to spend?
I don't know. It would depend on what they did to deserve it.
Well, what if all this talk about drugs is really true?
Oh, that's ridiculous.
What do you mean it's ridiculous? Do you think your government's lying to you? Do you think that your government's lying to you about that?
Oh, surely not.
I'm being serious. Don't be facetious with me. I'll go on to the next guy.
Okay.
Do you think your government's lying to you about that?
I think that there's some truth to it, but I have no way of knowing.
Well, if you think there's some truth to it, are you willing to just let it continue to go on?
Yes. If Noriega isn't doing it, somebody else would do it.
You are willing to aid in the destruction of your country?
Well, I don't conceive that it involves any sort of destruction.
You don't think drugs are aiding in the destruction of this country and the downfall of this country?
No, I don't see it. I hear all this reports about it, but I don't observe it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you one quick thing.
Yeah?
If we're concerned about a threat, we should be considering action against Brazil instead of Panama.
Brazil? Why Brazil?
Because they're destroying the rainforest, which is the source of our oxygen for the entire planet.
Wait a second. It's their forest, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you're talking about a threat, there you have one that's much more severe.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
You know, Mike, I don't know when it happened, but somewhere in the last month or two, it's just like the old days. It really is, man. Okay, Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. Hi, Tampa.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah, hi.
I'd like to inject a little historical information, not about the original 1903.
It's irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant about the historical information. Who cares? Well, we stole this country from the Indians. Every country in the face of the earth was stolen from somebody else. It's irrelevant. It's over and done with.
Okay, well, this one item, though. The fact that a lot of people are indignant about Noriega stealing an election when, let's say, the 1984 election was stolen by the United States, and the same candidate that we defeated in 1984 by robbing the election, we overthrew him 3 times previously, a guy named Arnulfo Arias. I mean, this is the country that's preaching to Panama about electoral voting honesty when we ourselves have engineered elections there and overthrown their president.
Well, I beg your pardon, we've engineered elections here. I mean, I suppose one could reasonably argue, and damned well argue, that when you tell lies about your opponent, when you deceive the voting populace about your opponent and his record, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you are indeed engaging in electoral fraud. We do it all the time in this country.
That's true. So, I just can't...
But I'm really very, very sorry for the people in Panama who apparently had an election stolen from them. From everything I can gather, they had an election stolen from them, and I'm very, very, very sorry to hear that. But I just wonder suddenly when is it chiseled in stone that the great white father goes around and straightens out stolen elections when the great white father hasn't done a hell of a lot to straighten out elections in his own backyard.
It's true. The world's policemen would think that's our role, and that's wrong. If I may, just on this particular 1984 election, if I may just inject, a few statements.
No, it's really irrelevant. It's over and it's done with. And besides that, I'm right up against the clock at 3:49. Don Richards standing by the WFLA news desk.
The government of...
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Grand Prix tank wash, where they just, I tell you, they get our tanks so spiffy, spick and span clean, you wouldn't hardly believe it. Last time we were down in Central America liberating some people, we came back, we had mud in our tracks, had dust all over the place. It was disgusting, but ran it through the Grand Prix car wash. I, of course, got the Supreme. Michael, who's a little bit more economical than I, got the Super at the Grand Prix car wash. And by the way, tank wash. There's a very special deal going on if your tank is in need of a little bit of restoring here this week. You can get a full-service wash, an exterior Armor All. That's right, they'll get right down there on the tracks and Armor All them. Put a freshener inside your tank, just in case you've got some jungle rot in there or something. The freshener will get it right out, and hand wax it for $19.95. at the Grand Prix Car Wash. They don't do tanks. I'm lying about that. 3 locations to serve you: 1880 Gulf to Bay Boulevard, 10471 Park Boulevard in Seminole. That Gulf to Bay, by the way, is in Clearwater. And the newest location, 3622 Gandy Boulevard in South Tampa, the Grand Prix Car Wash. The tanks are that was a fib, but the special this week at 1995 is for real. Clearwater, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yes, I'd like to say a couple things. First of all, the reason why we didn't go to France, obviously, Mitterrand wasn't responsible for the drug trafficking, from Turkey to France.
Right, yeah, sure, wink, wink.
And where did you get your information that he was? But anyhow, and the second point is that the Panama Canal is ours.
Well, no, wait a second. I suppose Mitterrand wasn't capable of taking care of the drug problem with the French connection, so therefore I guess using the same logic that we would go in and straighten things up in Panama, we could have gone in and straightened things up in France.
Well, the situation is that in Panama, Noriega is responsible for the drug trafficking and the drug trade, and directly.
Well, yeah, sure. That's what Bob Merkel says.
Yeah, and of course,
Bob Merkel also says life begins at conception.
Yes, he does.
Right.
He's a good man. I know he's done well. Good people. But anyhow,
of course, he didn't indict Fidel Castro.
Yeah, you're right, and he should have. And he also should have Humberto Ortega, Danny's brother, was in 1984 directly responsible for drug trafficking from, through Central America from Colombia.
So how many kids do you want to waste in this extravaganza?
Well, I'm not really tickled about wasting any kids. And, of course, as you know, in Vietnam, there was more people killed in 1 year on traffic accidents than there was all of Vietnam, even though that is a law.
So what in the hell does that mean?
Pardon? I lost a lot of good friends. Let's put it this way. Would you fight for anything?
60,000 dead U.S. kids is to be traded off for traffic accidents?
Would you fight for this country to be free?
Damn
would you
straight
fight
I would.
for drug trafficking to stop?
No, sir.
You wouldn't?
No, sir. Because taking out Daniel Ortega, taking out Manuel Noriega, taking out Fidel Castro is going to do nothing, absolutely nothing to stem the use of drugs in this country.
How many kids are you willing to waste on the streets of this city to drugs? Don't you, as an adult male in this society, have some kind of responsibilities to save these lives?
There's nothing I can do to save them,
and
sir.
Cut these people off. How about this?
Not a damn thing I can do to save them. If I take out Manuel Noriega, some guy named Joe Clark in Indiana is going to come up with a new drug that he can make in his bathtub.
Oh, you really think so?
I know so. What do you mean I think so? I know so, sir. We're talking about addictive personalities. They don't care if it's cocaine or Manischewitz wine. They don't care. They just need a high, man.
But anyhow, we have to keep it out of their hands, and we got to do the best we can.
We can't keep it out of their hands. We can only turn them into non-users.
That's just like saying murder. Murder, hasn't stopped because it's against the law, but you have to keep going after it. You have to get... in other words, you can't be defeated.
Sir, there are only a handful of people who murder because it's a high.
Well, that's true.
Murder and taking drugs are...
That's true, but
exactly
still, we're talking about the law. We're talking about consequences of the law and what we... as adult males think about the lawlessness in our cities and what we do to attack. We don't say, well, we just throw up our hands and just accept it for that's the way it is. Not me, at least. You may. But
Sir, taking out Noriega will do utterly nothing to stem the flow of drugs into this country, and all it will do is cost God only knows how many thousands or potentially tens of thousands of innocent lives, most of them Panamanians.
Can you imagine? Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that I know some Panamanians, and I know for sure that if we go down there and force, most of Noriega's men is going to be on our side because that
right, wink, wink.
Yeah, for sure. And the Panama Canal is ours, and we should take it back. Of course, don't worry about this. George Bush is in, and he's definitely not going to go down there, okay?
Right,
you got nothing to worry about.
Okay, take care there.
Thank you.
2 more hours yet to go. Please don't venture very far. WFLA. 12 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock. Welcome back. It's a Tuesday that I'm reasonably sure of. The paper says here it's May the 9th, 1989. We'll go along with that. And it could be an interesting day. It might be an interesting week. It might be an interesting month because... our blowhards in Washington, of course, have been threatening all kinds of dire consequences if those elections there in Panama weren't just, spiffy, neat, and clean. Well, apparently they were not spiffy. They certainly weren't neat, and they certainly weren't clean, which puts our blowhards up there, the big weenies, in Washington, D.C., in a rather awkward position. Now, my good friend Ted Webb, who knows a little bit more about women's mud wrestling than he does about international affairs, spent 2.5 hours today entertaining a bunch of beer-swizzling yahoos who know even less about mud wrestling than Ted Webb does, talking about how they want to go in and take over this place, go in and take over that place. Of course, it's the same crowd who sit at home and encourage other people to go out and do their fighting for them, or who sit at home and fantasize about fighting. And so we thought we would just come in and say, well, how many guys, how many red-blooded American boys from Indiana and Texas and Kansas and New Jersey and New York and Florida do you want to waste? And even more importantly than that, why? What's it going to accomplish? I mean, it was guys like Georgie Bush and who knows, possibly even Georgie Bush himself, who put Noriega in power. But, hey, what does that matter? Hey, yeah, come on, let's have some fights. I mean, I've been watching the nightly news now, and there just ain't nothing terribly interesting on there. And pretty soon they're going to be showing me parched farmland in Kansas, and I'd really like to see some blood rolling down the streets in Panama. So there's one line available. Oops, make it 2. No, it's 1. Okay, it's 1. That line is in Hillsborough County. The number is 990-9352, 990-WFLA. Hi, Tampa, you're on the air. News Radio 970 WFLA.
Mr. Lassiter?
Yeah, that's right.
I couldn't hardly hear you. Our connection is kind of bad. Well, I'm a grandmother in her early 50s, and I have a grandson that just had to register for the draft. He turned 18 in February.
Uh-huh.
And I am not for any of them. I have a son in his 20s also. I'm a woman, but don't think our young men should have to go down there and kill themselves over something as stupid as what our government had a part in. Why don't these guys that's been calling in to you, how old are they? I bet they don't have any kid that's older than 5 or one old enough to be drafted to go down there and fight. And they're certainly not going to do it. So why do they got to call in like that?
As a general rule of thumb, many of the men over 45 say that, well, I would.
Yeah. They say they would, but they won't because they wouldn't be drafted.
Nobody's going to ask them.
What's going to happen is my 18-year-old grandson's going to be drafted if we got in a war down there, and they're the ones that get killed, the young men.
So you're not in favor of wasting any red-blooded American boys?
Heck no. Why should we go down there? They'll do all right. Leave them alone. Let them take care of their own selves down there. Let us quit butting in. Look what we did to Cuba. Now we got a worse dictator than we had to start with. So I'm saying that if they got kids, the ones that's called in all these men that I've listened to, that's old enough to go fight, I don't think they'd be calling in. Because like me with a grandson who just turned 18 and all, and a son that's in his 20s, I don't want him to go get killed. Now, if they had to, they would.
Thank you very much.
And I thank you very much.
Take care. Now, I'm sure there's some, really patriotic grannies out there who would like to waste some of their grandchildren, and perhaps you could call in and rebut that caller. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, Lassiter, I don't think we ought to waste any, quote, boys, unquote. By the way, I think you insult every man in the military when you say that. But I think obviously this is a job that you want to sub out. You want to contract it out to professionals, have them go in there and do a surgical excision.
Oh.
That's right. That's what we have.
Professionals.
Right.
Guys like maybe Colonel Brown.
Colonel Brown.
Yeah. A professional like him.
I'm not familiar with the name.
He's the guy that puts out Soldier of Fortune magazine.
No, I don't believe he...
I think that's his name, Robert Brown. Colonel Robert Brown. I think it is.
Possibly. I'm not familiar with Brown, but or even possibly Delta Force. Which,
so, in other words, you're talking about one of these tough guys that leads a bunch of...
Delta Force and OJT, though.
You're talking about, the kind of guys like we sent in to make the beard fall out of Fidel Castro's chin.
No, that was the Mafia. Yeah, those clowns. No, they're not.
No, it was the CIA.
Well, they contracted the Mafia. That was ridiculous. That was absurd. No, we should never make that mistake again.
I thought it was the Mafia that contracted with the CIA.
No, the CIA contracted with the Mafia to have the mafiosos go in there.
But in other words, you're talking about, the same kind of guys that have been trying to get rid of Oh, Castro for what, 26, 27 years, Gaddafi for 10, 11, 12 years, those kind of guys.
Well, what about Delta Force?
Delta Force. Oh, what's Delta Force done?
You've never heard of Delta Force?
Yeah, I've heard of them. What have they done?
Well, they haven't done anything. That's what I'm saying. They were set up after the debacle over Desert One. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah, that was almost 8.5, 9 years ago.
Right, and after that, they set up the Delta Force.
Which was comprised of a lot of the guys that were in that debacle.
Well, just because the mission failed didn't mean that the individual foot soldiers there were to blame.
Right. As a matter of fact, Oliver North was actually to some degree involved in that.
Yeah, Oliver North is very competent.
Yes, he certainly
is.
When
it comes to military operations.
Of course, he can't even, Oliver North can't even forge a bill of sale for a fence.
He screwed up when you put him in with politicians, but you keep him strictly in the military operations, and the man is a genius.
Well, of course, in the jungles with teeth spread like he does. All right, boys, let's go.
Pardon me? I'm sorry.
With those teeth, I don't think he'd be too good in the jungle.
With his teeth?
Right, because when he talks, he whistles. So, it wouldn't be... He'd be kind of giving himself away in the jungle.
He whistles when he talks?
Well, he does have a gap in his front teeth.
Well, so does David Letterman. What the hell? That's irrelevant.
Nobody has suggested sending David Letterman over to save the world.
Well, maybe we could consider it. No, but seriously, I think that, this is a job...
I'm really glad you said but seriously, folks.
Yeah, this requires a very, very surgical excision. Now, obviously, we don't go in there, with landing craft and LSCs, LSDs, or whatever the hell they are, and battleships and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we want to go in. In fact, I would contract it out to foreigners.
Contract it out to foreigners?
Yeah, say the Mossad, or whatever the hell they're called.
Ah, the Israelis.
Yeah.
Let the Jews bail us out again.
Well, hey, they owe us,
They owe us?
They owe us. They owe us their very existence. I mean, it's the least they can do.
What do you mean they owe us? I thought they owned us. I thought they had all the banks.
No, I'm talking about the Israelis, not the American Jews.
Oh.
The American Jews own us. The Israelis owe us their existence.
Now, wait a second. I thought it was the Rothschilds, too. Not just the Americans, Jews, but all the Jews.
Right. Right, a Jew's a Jew.
So how could they possibly owe us when they own us? And on top of that, they owe the Panamanians too because they own everything in the world.
No, all Israelis are Jews, but all Jews aren't Israelis.
You really think you're going to get the Jews to go and
no, let's wait, stop right there.
What?
All Israelis are Jews, but all Jews are not Israelis. I'm not talking about Jews.
Yeah, but the Jews own everything. Right?
I'm not talking about Jews. I'm talking about Israelis.
Why are the Jews? Why do you think the Jews are going to knock out Noriega when they already own him?
You're confusing the issue. The Jews...
I would certainly hope so. But here's one guy that's not owned by anybody, especially the Foxes.
And you can't confuse me, Bob.
I know, Gary.
Because I'm not...
It's something to be able to confuse somebody.
I'm not able to be confused, Bob.
I know, Gary. It takes a certain something to be able to confuse, or to be confused. I'm very confused.
Me too.
No, that's impossible, Gary.
Oh, that's right. I can't be confused.
Okay, so how about telling us what the traffic situation looks like up there in your WFLA
airborne dangerous traffic drugs?
Yes.
Body like Adonis.
Yeah, Adonis.
Yeah. Well, we still have, in fact, U.S. forces.
So, for you people in Hillsborough, how many fingers? How many fingers worth of boys do you want to... Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
To answer your question, I don't think we would waste any of our boys if we would do what we did in the early 60s against Cuba when we blockaded them to get them to dismantle their missile bases down there. I think if we militarily blockaded Panama, the Panamanians would do it themselves and overthrow Noriega themselves.
Blockaded them from what, sir?
From any ships going in or coming out.
Sir, I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, the overwhelming majority of traffic through the Panamanian Canal is American traffic.
Right. But the Panamanian Canal is controlled by us. We could let ships in that are benefiting us through, but
sir,
not benefiting Panama.
Sir, there aren't any ships going through the Panama Canal that benefit Panama. You see that the reason to go through the Panama Canal is to go from one ocean to the other.
Right, I understand that.
And Panama has their own ports.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If we blockade,
that would be an act of war as well.
Well, it wasn't an act of war in the 60s when we got Cuba to dismantle.
would have been had the blockade lasted any length of time.
I don't think so. I don't think that it would have...
Sir, it's an act of war in international law.
But wasn't it quite effective in Cuba?
Well, no, sir, because no ships were ever blockaded. The Russian ships that you're talking about immediately turned around and went back. They never confronted any of the American ships. No ships were ever really boarded. To the best of my knowledge. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's... Well,
there were certainly none of them that were shot at or sunk. That's for sure.
Yeah, basically that's what I was saying, that we blockaded...
And on top of that, you see, we didn't blockade Cuban shipping. We blockaded Russian shipping.
True, but what would be... Couldn't we do it for any shipping going into Panama?
No, sir, that's an act of war. You have to declare war.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well just a thought. I thought I'd throw it at you.
You see, sir, if the ships that you're blockading say, hey, screw you, and continue to come on, you have basically two choices. Say, well, never mind, we didn't really mean it, or to sink them.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, but I still think that it would be a show of force.
Collingswood, New Jersey, sir.
What?
Collingswood, New Jersey.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Collingswood, New Jersey.
No.
It's in between Haddon Township and Camden.
I understand that's where you're from, but what I'm saying, I just thought I'd throw it at you. You were asking how many would it take. It was just my own personal opinion if we could do it.
Thank you very much.
Right.
990-9352 in Hillsborough. Tampa, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
I suggest that, man, before you look at a map, I don't think Panama's an island, so I don't think putting a ship out off each of its, coasts would do a whole lot of good on stopping the train traffic. But anyway, if you want to take this a little further, you could bring the question in on the people a little tighter. If you say, would you be willing to give up your son, your husband, your father, possibly even your daughter, in an attempt to bring democracy to Panama? Now, the record of our military here recently, I'm sure it would just be an attempt. Because if we look at what we did in Grenada, it took the Navy SEALs, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the 82nd Airborne, the Rangers, and I'm sure the Air Force was in there with surveillance. And I don't think we did such a hot job there.
No, we didn't.
And also, I haven't
seen... hospital and shot down our own helicopters.
Oh, right. And plus, I mean, the time schedules weren't even kept. The guys landed, they had to scrounge road maps. I mean, like you get from AAA.
Oh, yeah, they had to ask directions.
And ask directions.
Excuse me, could you direct me to the communists?
Well, exactly. That's exactly what happened. I'm pro-military, but I mean, I think to go off half-cocked and do anything, you're just wasting good lives. And I haven't seen the Panamanian people rise up in revolt saying, please help us. Now, maybe I missed that on the news every night, but I've yet to see that. And who are we to say...
kind of necessary.
Pardon?
That's kind of necessary.
I would think so, to go down there and fight. You think you'd want the people on your side.
Details. I'm going to have to go on to Don Richards if you're going to be so detail-oriented.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Donald. I think there must be something terribly, terribly wrong in Hillsborough County because all the Hillsborough lines are available. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Of course, we're dealing with a Panamanian question, and we're dealing with, how many kids is all of this worth to you, and why? And what do you think is going to be accomplished by it? And, just itsy-bitsy, teeny-weeny little things like that. It's all we're really inquiring of you. Back to the phones we will go. Indian Rocks. Indian, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. Oh, pity poo. Oh, pity, pity, pity poo. That call from Indian Rocks was undeniably we lost it. Okay, let's go to St. Petersburg. Hi, St. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hey, good afternoon, Lassiter.
Hey, afternoon, Saint.
Tell you, I find myself in an interesting position here. I don't have much of a problem with invading Panama, annexing Central America or South America, and a whole shooting match, if someone would produce a good reason for it.
Uh-huh.
The drug problem, they say. And that's stupid to me. The biggest problem we have with drugs in this country is our own war on drugs. It's costing us somewhere around $14 billion a year, and it's not doing a damn thing.
Well, I guess maybe that's why they want to go to Panama, you know, kind of maybe take some of the heat off?
Well, you know, perhaps it's wishful thinking if they think anything is going to happen by it, but we should learn to spend this money in a more wise manner. If that's what we want to do, fight drugs, we ought to spend that $14 billion in a more intelligent manner.
Well, what do you think the poor president's going to do now, since he said, you know, hey, you know, they better do it, you know, down there, or else we're going to have to, you know, challenge them to horseshoes?
I have no idea what they're going to do. I have my own ideas of how they should fight the drug war if that's what they want to do. But getting back to this invading South America, if someone could convince me, produce a good reason, if it was going to improve my lifestyle, ours Americans' lifestyle, if it was going to improve the lifestyle of those down there, then, you know, maybe I could be convinced. And I think it could be done probably for maybe 30,000 lives initially to invade and defeat the entire...
You blow away 25,000 people to improve your lifestyle?
Well, that's about how many men it would probably cost us to go down there and do it. But then we have to consider that if we're going to defeat these countries and annex them, we are going to have to keep an army of occupation down there for at least 50 or 75 years, probably indefinitely. And that would be even more expensive than our drug war. Do you disagree?
Well, I have no idea what it would cost to keep them there. No idea at all.
Well, and that's only in the money to keep them there. Then we're going to lose a lot of lives every year. Mm-hmm. You know, because an army of occupation isn't really welcome. You made a point a while ago that I'd like to address, Bob. You said that we lost in Vietnam and Korea because the boys didn't know why they were there?
No, that's because the country didn't know why it was there. So that's what the country was doing in Vietnam. They didn't know why they were there.
Okay, then I have no argument with that. What I was going to say is...
This country thought they could, you know, send an army over there of 500,000 men who, again, didn't know why they were there. They were just told to go and thought that, you know, somehow numerically we could overwhelm people that had been trying to drive out foreign invaders for 1,500, 800, I can't remember what it is, years.
Yeah, well, pretty much the World War II, the American Army was in the same situation. The boys didn't know why they were there.
No, but they at least recognized, you know, the country, and they recognized the faces that they were fighting for.
They had the support behind them.
They didn't hate. You see, that's one of the things. They didn't hate the people that they were supposedly fighting for.
No.
So you see, if a Panamanian family moved into the average American's neighborhood, the average American would try to put his house up for sale. Thank you, my friend. I got to run.
Hey.
But then the average American would probably do the same thing if McHenry tried to move into his neighborhood. I know I would.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Gar. How
are you? Oh, great, Bob.
Hey, how's that little wisp of smoke on US 41?
Oh, well, it's still wisping, but
it's still wisping.
Yeah, they still have traffic.
You know, Gar, maybe that's one of the reasons you have so much trouble with the foxes. Is you use words like wisping.
Well, what would you say? Billowing?
Yeah.
Well, it's not billowing.
Hey, come on. How am I supposed to get ratings with you saying things like, oh, there's little wisps of smoke?
Okay, there's a mini...
Smoke on 41 is billowing.
There's a mini billow of smoke along 41.
There go my numbers and your foxes.
What do you mean, there go what? Traffic along... Oh, two sixes.
How did you know?
Oh, ESP, Yahtzee telepathy. Courtney Campbell Causeway, that is stacked up if you're headed over into Clearwater. Unusually heavy, right about Hampton Road over to Bay. Well, Yahtzee set?
Yeah, so I just gave it to him this afternoon, the listener.
I've never had a triple Yahtzee game.
That doesn't surprise me.
Maybe I could borrow it some week. Maybe I could come over. Can I come over and play?
Just do the weather. Huh?
The weather? Well, it's rather warm out here, and lots of clouds billowing up over Hillsborough County, and I'm Gary McHenry, 970 WFLA Airborne Weather.
Having the right material.
Okay. Well, I think really for that reason, for the drugs, nobody should go down there. I don't believe that any life is worth that. If we're going to win the battle down there, we got to win the battle here. And that's by zero tolerance, just not giving any leeway for drugs. I mean, educate the students. If there's a problem, I mean, none of these first offenders make people afraid to go to jail. And then once we get that, then maybe we can go outside. But first we take care of it here at home. Once we win the battle here, we can win any other battle.
I don't think there's a sizable town in the state of Florida that hasn't set up really grim sting operations for, nice white middle-class people going into the ghetto to buy drugs from the street dealer and, ended up arresting them for buying them. And it certainly hasn't seemed to deter the nice middle-class white people from still doing that.
Well, but I mean, going for that reason is not going to cause, I don't know, but it's going to be a big problem, but the thing is, if we can't handle it here, we're going to handle down the DEA, Customs, and Coast Guard are fighting down off the Bahamas trying to figure out who gets the best bust. If we're fighting against ourselves, how are we going to fight over there?
Good point. Thank you, my friend.
Okay.
Let's go again to Clearwater. Hi, Clear. You're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Listen, you seem to be putting out a little misinformation today.
Which misinformation is that?
Well, like in U.S. News and World Report, November the 11th issue, they stated that 45% of all the drug traffic was coming through Noriega's group.
45%, I'll be darned.
That's right, November the 11th issue. Look it up. I did a little research while you were passing out this info this afternoon.
Uh-huh.
Okay, also you stated that in France, France was sending trafficking in most of the heroin that was coming to the U.S.
No, I didn't say most.
Well, let me tell you another thing. In Newsweek in March 18th issue, it says France is turning to cocaine big time.
Son of a gun. Then I guess we should go over there, too.
Because heroin is dropping off to nothing, and they're not making any money on it.
Huh. Son of a gun.
So there's two of them you're putting out that's not anywhere true at all.
Well, it's not according to Newsweek. Or was that U.S. News and World
No,
Report?
no. Newsweek, March 18th issue.
Okay, it was Newsweek then. Well, not according to Newsweek then,
Okay, and also, you put down here that you stated that would you turn in your neighbor if he were taking drugs?
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard you state many times that you took drugs yourself for years.
Oh, yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Right.
But what's that mean? That just because you took them a long time ago, you weren't guilty?
No, I don't believe I ever said. I don't believe I ever said I wasn't.
I know, but why didn't you turn yourself in?
Well, because I'm different now than I used to be then. Yeah.
Well, it's maybe a lot of other people would deserve that same chance.
And besides, I wasn't suggesting that he turned himself in. He didn't say he was a drug user. As a matter of fact, he said he wasn't a drug user, but he hung around with a lot of drug users.
Okay, and also, you stated that
So I guess you put out some misinformation too, huh?
No, you didn't.
No, I said I guess you put out.
Worse than a guy hangs around with a drug user.
I said I guess you put out some misinformation too, because you were labeling the young man who said he was not a drug user as a drug user.
All right, well, I'll concede that one.
Well, okay, so then I guess if everything I said is, thrown out the window because I made a mistake, then everything that you said is thrown out the window because you made a mistake. Don Richards standing by at the WFLA News Desk. What's possible to enjoy a good meal without sitting back after it was over, taking the belt out a notch or two and letting off a cigarette? I was wrong. I used to think there were so many things that would be utterly impossible to do. I was wrong. You probably think it would be impossible to get through life without a cigarette too, don't you? You're wrong. 787-5530. 787-5530. The Pinellas County number. It'll ring in Dr. Robert Sobel's office. Dr. Robert Sobel will teach you in 2 one-hour sessions that you are absolutely dead wrong about how much you need cigarettes. No gimmicks, no games, just a sane, sensible approach to getting rid of those miserable coffin nails. Total cost, $39.50. 2 one-hour sessions a week apart, and you can become a non-smoker. 787-5530. Okay, Michael, clear the board. Just hang up on all of them. All of them. They won't play the game. All we wanted them to do was to simply tell us how many boys they wanted to waste in Panama. So from this point on, for the remaining hour of the program, hour and 4 minutes as the case may be right now, we will sit here and take calls from young men who want to go down and fight. We will sit here and take calls from patriotic Americans who have had it up to here with Manuel Noriega. We will take calls from middle-aged men who love to stroke their AK-47s as well as other assault rifles, who could all pack into a pickup truck and head down for Panama for America. Since obviously nobody wants to waste anybody else's life, everybody in the listening audience must, I can only assume, want to take care of the job for themselves. So we want to hear from, hey, Newsweek magazine says 45% of all the cocaine's coming through Panama. Should be a piece of cake. It's a relatively small country. I mean, it should just absolutely be no problem whatsoever. So I'll give you the telephone numbers, all those people who want to call up and, tell the audience that they're on their way to the Marine recruiting station or the Army recruiting station or whatever it might be. 787-5530. Do we have any Sam McClellan? Nah, I can't do that. I was going to play some patriotic music in the background while we're waiting for all those people who are going to call up on their way to the recruiting station. 7, where the hell? I'm starting to give out Dr. Robert Sobel's number. 461-9352. Don't call Robert Sobel and tell him you're going to the recruiting station. He couldn't care less. 990-9352 in Hillsborough County. 990-9352 as you're on your way to the recruiting station. 461-9352 in Pinellas. 461-9352. The lines will be filling any moment now with young men who want to fight for their country, who want to restore democracy in Panama, of course, first and foremost, and rid this country of drugs, rid this country of the scourge of Manuel Noriega. Phone lines will be filling up momentarily. Anytime now. And then a lot of good old boys who are too old for the draft or whatever to sign up, they will be calling up to tell us how they are leaving their families behind for just a few weeks, just a couple of weeks that it would take to pile into the pickup truck, go down there and straighten out that spick down there. Do you realize he speaks Spanish? That's right. Anytime, though, those calls will be coming in. Okay, well, we have another hour, and I guess the next hour will be filled with people who are going to the recruiting station to get down there and straighten out the world in Panama. Take back that Panama Canal, too. Anytime now. Appears to be working. Call me, he's a pinko, he's this, he's that, he's the other. There were 4 words that were uttered in the newscast at the top of the hour that should send chills up and down your spine. 4 little words. Keeping his options open. In referring to our beloved Bushy. God, I wish his wife was president. But in any event, keeping his options open. Let's be honest with each other. What are his options? His options are some type of military action to oust Manuel Noriega. Don't hold your breath. It ain't going to happen. It would require such a massive invasion that the American people just will not put up with it. And it would literally be a long, prolonged war, costing tens of thousands of innocent lives, military and civilian. It's not going to happen. So what is the other option? To do nothing. Oh, yeah, to pop off. Well, if this keeps happening, well, the next time we're really going to get mad about this. Well, the next time they hold an election down there and it's not fair, we're going to do something. We're going to make them... That's the option. I thought you guys loved your country. I thought you guys really and truly were patriots. I thought that you really had pride in this baby. I'm obviously wrong. Because time after time after time after time, you sit back and put up with this keeping his options open. Time after time, you sit back and put up with this country being made to look like a bunch of jerks. Time after time, you sit back and let somebody just mouth off. Threaten things that he can't possibly back up. What are they going to do, bomb Panama? With smart bombs that seem to have a habit of dropping into dumb places? Take out all the innocent people? Think that's what they're going to do? No, not this time. Think they're going to invade? Oh, probably take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks to get it together. Would be known for several days they were coming. When you load all those guys into little landing craft and all that kind of stuff, it's known for a long time. This isn't, the turn of the century anymore where you can just show up with 200,000 troops, and it's a surprise as they come over the horizon. It doesn't work that way anymore. So that's not going to happen. And even if it did, it would just be such a bloodbath. Keeping his options open. It should make you sick to your stomach. If you're eating supper or getting ready to eat supper, you should throw it in the garbage can. How can you eat when people make a mockery of this country? Mock everything that we truly stand for. Because somehow it makes a bunch of people who drink too damn much beer and listen to the bowling show on the other station on Wednesdays, it somehow makes them feel better.
Oh, yeah, I like that kind of talk. Yeah, keeping his options open, well, it means we could drop the A-bomb on him, or we could invade. Yeah, I like those kinds of options.
Well, don't you really love this country? I do. That's why I hate to see it make a fool of itself. That's why I hate to see for hour after hour after hour people on talk radio stations in Tampa and Orlando and Newark and Detroit and wherever there are talk radio stations just mouth off unsensibly, ridiculously, ignorantly
about what ought to be done.
Hey, gang, there ain't nothing we can do. It's a crazy, crazy world we live in. Our problem is not Manuel Noriega. Our problem is ourselves. And the sooner we learn that, then the sooner we will be not hassled by Manuel Noriegas. If we didn't sell each other dope in this country, if we didn't look the other way when our friends take dope, if we didn't take dope ourselves, then there'd be nothing for Manuel to sell us. Not a damn thing. He's not our enemy. We are our enemy. There aren't any options. There aren't going to be any options. Doesn't make any difference if there's a liberal or a conservative in the office. There's not a damn thing we can do. All of those things that we charge Manuel Noriega with, which are almost surely true, all of those crimes that he is charged with, will just be picked up by somebody else if we take him out. It's not the Colombians, it's not the Bolivians, it's not the Peruvians, it's not the Brazilians, it's not the Panamanians, the Nicaraguans, the Hondurans, the Costa Ricans, the Mexicans. None of them are our enemy. Just slobs trying to make it in the world best they can. How amazing it is that we are, for all practical purposes, the only nation on the face of the earth who are trying to poison each other. The only nation on the face of the earth who will destroy their society for the sake of a buck. Black on black, white on white, black on white, white on black. Doesn't make any difference. For a buck. How tragic it is when you go into a black neighborhood and you see black people selling black people poison for a buck. How tragic. And that's what it's come to. And you see the same thing in the white neighborhoods, too. And you see the same thing in the mixed neighborhoods. All over the place just for a lousy, miserable buck. And we're pissed off at Manuel Noriega? Are you serious? Because we have ourselves become so corrupt. We would even toy with the idea of going in and invading a country filled with innocent people? To oust the son of a bitch that we put in there? And until just a relatively few months ago was our son of a bitch. And now we're a little bit pissed off because he ain't anymore? You disappoint me so very, very much. You truly do. All of you people who think that you have a real bitch with me, all of you people that think that, Lassiter ain't a good American because he doesn't want to go bomb babies and drop napalm. The sad fact of the matter is that so many of you people, so many of you younger people who go shooting off from the lip, without thinking about what you're talking about, so many of you have friends who take drugs. Hell, probably some of you guys do. Know people that sell drugs. Turn your face, look the other direction, work with people who are into drugs. maybe live with people who are into drugs, party with people who are into drugs. And you want to blame it on Manuel Noriega? You want to go bomb cities and towns and villages filled with people who don't take drugs? People who wouldn't consider taking drugs? People who wouldn't consider partying with people who take drugs? Or living with people who take drugs? People who would be appalled. Let me give you the telephone numbers. Let's see if we can't straighten this out, huh? 461-9352 in Pinellas. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. Well, coming out from behind that large 40,000-foot column of billowing smoke. Hi, Bob. It's Gary McHenry, the fearless airborne traffic reporter.
Can we play triple Yahtzee tonight, you think, Bob?
Oh, no, I'm busy.
I thought it'd be kind of fun, you and the Muffin.
Wouldn't be funny at all.
You and the Muffin and I, and Sophie, and I'll bring egg salad sandwiches, and we'll make tang, and
not a chance.
Tomorrow night?
Never.
I guess you're in a bad mood, huh, Bob? I'll talk to you later when you're happier.
Yeah, like 1999.
Having along southbound 275 in Tampa.
At 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I want to try to figure a couple of things out with your insight. And isn't it funny how we patronize these monsters? People like Noriega, Somoza, Marcos, immediate examples that come to mind, who tell us what we most want to hear, that is a mindless anti-communism parroting. And then these people turn around and bite us in the ass within 10 or 15 years.
You know, I wonder if they are biting us in the ass.
Well, I think they're smart men, and they know exactly what they're accomplishing.
I mean, I doubt very much that Manuel Noriega is personally involved in drug trafficking. I would assume that he collects fees for permitting it to happen.
Sure.
Okay?
It's a racket.
And I would assume that he has been collecting fees to allow things to happen from our very first encounter with him. We were very well aware of it, but hey, come on, the drugs were going to the niggers, man. Ain't no big deal.
Exactly. He wouldn't have acceded to the position he's in without our consent to begin with.
And I wonder how many other people we have allowed to infiltrate this country with drugs as well as other horrible, horrendous things because, you know, hey, they're going to the wrong group of people anyway. Who cares?
Right. I mean, I think the people who can sanction that are the same ones who sanction legalization of drugs. I mean, basically, you're sort of committing an undeclared warfare on a certain class and race of people by doing that. And that's why I can't accept that solution.
I mean, it to me is utterly ludicrous to think that a nation the size of Panama is responsible for 45%, as Newsweek magazine, according to the caller, says. I didn't see that article, but to me, it's impossible to believe that 45% of the drugs are coming into this country from that relatively small area. That should be a piece of cake.
That strains credibility a little bit. Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, though. I thought the whole idea of foreign policy is for us to serve our long-term interests, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
Well, from what I can say, when I hear people talking about invasion, I mean, how many times have you asked this question in the last 3 years? How many boys are you willing to waste?
Yeah, it's the first time they didn't answer me, by the way.
But
they usually come up with numbers.
But it's got to be a half a dozen times that you've done this, right?
Oh, yeah, at least.
Well, you know, the only constituency I can see being served by that invasion would be this segment of U.S. political sociopaths they're looking for a cheap collective hard-on by doing this.
Well, on top of the fact that it's utterly impossible, or for all practical purposes, impossible.
Well, even assuming if we're able to shut off the Panamanian drug, assuming we can shut off all the drug traffic, watch the phrase better living through chemicals take on a whole new meaning.
You got it. There's that guy in Indiana just waiting. Waiting.
One possible solution, though, to this whole thing, and that would be maybe to accelerate turning the canal over to the Panamanians if the Panamanians rid themselves of Noriega.
I don't think the Panamanians are going to be dictated to just as any other country. You know, the countries in Central and South America, right or wrong, are getting a little bit sick and tired of being told what to do. And they've told us that. And in certain terms, even our friends have said, hey, don't tell us what to do.
But the canal is symbolic, and it's a sore point. And it represents that kind of ugly aspect of American conduct in Central America.
But think back, if you will, my friend, to, just about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, when Ronald Reagan slapped the sanctions on Panama, and all of the Central American countries, all of the Contradora countries, stood up and said, hey, now, God damn, Ron, what'd you go and do that for? We cannot back this up. We are not going to let the people, the citizens of Panama, suffer over this. We're going to have to make sure that Panama has the money, that Panama can pay its bills.
Right.
You put us in a really bad position. Why, in the name of God, did you go and do that?
Sure, we tied our hands because we cut off their sovereignty.
Which, again, forced us to back off one more time.
Just real quick, because I know you got to go. While during the news, I turned on All Things Considered for a little bit and listened to Guillermo Endara, the guy who had the election stolen from him. He's saying he doesn't want U.S. interdiction. He says this has to be a Latin solution.
That's right.
That's all the convincing I need.
George ain't got no options. He's lying through his teeth when he says he does.
Yeah.
None.
I hear you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Take care. What did he mean by that? 5:43 the time. Indian Rocks. Hi, Indian. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I just wanted to say that, well, first of all, I wanted to tell you that I wanted to thank you very much for something you said about a week ago when you were talking about Oliver North. A caller called up and made the comment that everybody in the military was either stupid or blind, and you pretty much got on his case, and
That's an incredibly stupid thing to do, as I recall. I hung up on him.
Yeah, it made some of us out here feel really good because not all of us are blind. Some of us have a pretty good idea what's going on. And
I think most of you have a pretty damn good idea as to what's going on. You know, the military is a legitimate career.
It is. I'm still in the Army Reserve, and I'll probably do that until I retire. I don't know yet. I'm still only 23 years old. I've got a long way to go yet. But I tell you, we talk about this when we're at the Reserve Center, and when I was on active duty, we talk about it. Not all of us are happy with what's going on. What a lot of people don't realize, not counting the innocent civilians that are down there, there's a 23-year-old Panamanian who probably likes to spend time with his parents. He doesn't want to be there any more than I am. And it's not his. It has nothing to do with that. You've got a power struggle going on with the drugs and everything. And unfortunately, who's going to get hurt? Not only innocent civilians, but there's a 23-year-old down there who's just like me, except maybe his skin's a little darker. He speaks a different language. But he's just like me, and I'm not so happy to go down there. I don't want to go down there. By the way, I am a medic because I believe in helping rather than... But, you know, I think all these people calling up saying, yeah, we got to go to war, you know, that's not going to solve the problem.
No, these people just want something to watch on the tube at night.
And half these people, what really makes me angry, though, is half these people have never been in. And, you know, they sit back and want other people to protect them. But then when it comes time for them, they just want to sit back and say, well, no, I'm a little too old. Oh, that football injury, oh, not me.
Well, you know, as much as they disturb me, and they do disturb me, it's relatively brief. I am genuinely disturbed, deeply disturbed, by the so-called leadership in this country, and it's both Republican and Democratic, who just pay, ridiculous lip service to elect me, and I'll do something about the drug problem. Now, what in the hell are you going to do? Because we are the drug problem, not Noriega, not anybody else. It's us, the American people. We're the drug problem.
It's a shame.
And nobody will admit to it.
It's the truth, though. It's really tough.
And I'm just afraid that some big-mouth politician is going to back himself into a corner where he has no choice but to go off into some ridiculously stupid military adventure where a lot of innocent young men and women are going to die.
Well, hopefully it'll never come to that. I would go, but I tell you what, I wouldn't be very damn happy about it. Thank you, Bob.
Well, one second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
May I ask you a question? You say you would go, even though, unless I'm wrong, please correct me, even though I would assume, judging from our brief conversation, that, you pretty much agree with me, that it would be a foolish adventure.
It would. Legit. Well,
then why would you go?
I don't want to sound too militaristic, but it would be logistically expensive, stupid,
very difficult,
ignorant, difficult. There's all kinds of negative things you could say about it. If there was one positive thing that could come out of it, I would say I would agree wholeheartedly with it. I don't think it'll ever happen because logistically it's not a great idea. Public opinion.
But at what point in your life would you stand up and say, no, damn it, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm not going to do it?
Well, see, therefore, we run into a paradox there because I signed up to go. I volunteered to be in this place. Therefore, I should accept responsibility for that. it's a hard decision to make. To when you stand up and say, no, I'm not going to do it. The UCMJ action says that I do not have to follow an order if it is illegal or unlawful or immoral. It's like with this Ollie North thing. He may or may have not have known. I don't even want to get into that because that's old news. But if I was told to do something, I would go down there. I am a medic. If I was told to do something that was against the Geneva Convention, of course, I would have a basis to stand up and say no. But if I was ordered to go down there, yes, I would. But it's not an easy choice to make, though.
But you see, if you were the only one that stood up, then it would have no effect whatsoever, and you'd probably get your butt screwed to the wall.
There you go.
If it was 5 guys that stood up, it wouldn't have a hell of a lot more effect, and you'd have 5 butts screwed to the wall. But if it was 50 or 500 or 5,000 or 50,000...
It won't be so much the military who does that. It'll be more the civilians. As you know, public pressure in Vietnam helped out a lot of getting them out of there when they did, instead of dragging it on and on and on. Public opinion had a lot to say about that. When they went down to Grenada, public opinion was very mixed. I can remember the Phil Donahue show. It was like half and half. People saying, yeah, we should have gone down there. No, we shouldn't have gone down there. I think with something like this, the public opinion would say, yeah, we could get rid of the drugs, but it's not worth hurting all the innocent people. So no, get them out of there. Don't even think about it. Don't even try it. I think public opinion would stand up on something like that.
Do you really think you're going to get rid of the drugs?
No, I don't. I see it every day. I work in a hospital. We do. I won't tell you which one, but I work in a laboratory.
And if it's not crack, it's going to be something else.
We get drug screens in here every day. And these are pregnant women. And it kind of makes you sick. I do drink beer. I don't believe that it's gateway to other things, as I heard this morning on Al Gardner's show. But it's the cocaine use, the barbiturates, and just not so much even the illegal drugs that are prescription drugs that you should not be using, like the barbiturates and the stimulants and things like that. It's not all cocaine and marijuana. There's a lot more out there, and it's being used.
Well, there's a little phrase that Mr. and Mrs. America tend to forget, and that phrase is drug of choice. When you have an addictive personality, it doesn't really make a hell of a lot of difference.
No, it doesn't.
It's just what's readily available.
When you get, like my dad told me a long time ago, he said, when I was growing up in North Carolina, he said, we were not old enough to get alcohol. So we went down to this little corner store where a guy sold moonshine, and they got it that way. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter what the drug is or what it is.
As long as it blots out whatever it is that you're trying to blot out.
It's, I heard a stupid saying one time. It said, reality is for people who can't handle drugs. That is the most asinine statement I have ever heard.
So on that note, I must move along as I'm getting backed up here against the news.
Bob, I appreciate the time.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Don Richards standing by the WFLA News Desk. President, drive up to Woodridge, okay? I did want to just wrap up for a moment or two, if I could, with you. It's important. It's important to me. It's important to you that we do not get ourselves involved in some kind of stupid adventure because somebody opened up his damned big mouth and got himself backed into a wall. I don't like what's going on in Panama. I feel very sorry for the Panamanian people. I don't like Manuel Ortega. Noriega. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like his kind of people. But we don't have any options to keep open. There's not a damn thing we can do about it. As much as it bothers me, as much as it bothers you, there's not a damn thing that we can do about it. And we do ourselves a great injustice by using the likes of Noriega as scapegoats for something that's awfully wrong within our own society, within our own country. Noriega is not our problem. Told you before, let me say it again. Let me say it a zillion times if I have to until it finally is beaten into your head. We are the problem. I know you don't like to hear that. I know you don't like to accept responsibility for anything. But damn it, until you do, it's only going to get worse. Do you like living in this society? Do you like not being able to go into half of the neighborhoods in this country? Do you like living in fear? Do you like living behind bars? Do you like living with security systems? Do you like being afraid to go out and take a stroll through your own neighborhood after dark? Either do I. Do you like having to move further and further and further and further away from town to raise your children? Either do I. There are no scapegoats. It didn't happen overnight. It's not going to be cleared up overnight. Please, please, the next time you hear somebody, regardless of whether he's the president or running for town council, come up with simplistic solutions to these incredibly complex problems. Would you please hoot him down? Doesn't mean that he's a bad man, but he's got to be brought back to reality, just as you have to be brought back to reality. When you hear your president saying stupid things like, well, we're going to keep our options open now that what we feared has happened. There are no options. The man does you a disservice, he does himself a disservice.